This is News 6 Tonight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friday edition of News 6 Tonight. I am so happy that you made time for us and made this your digital destination for tonight to catch up on the day's news. I'm Ginger Gadsden, and you may notice that I'm sitting next to one of our superstar investigators. This is Mike DeForce. Mike, I'm so I'm so happy that you are joining us tonight.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here.
This
on
is your
Friday
first
night.
time, right?
Yeah,
On a
sure.
Friday night.
Yeah, I love
You
being
had
here.
nothing else to do.
Yeah, we're good. No.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about the day's top stories, and then we're going to delve a little deeper into your career because just talking to you for the few minutes that we've been sitting here chatting, I'm realizing that you've been here a quarter of a century, and it sounds longer than when you say 25 years. 25 years sounds like 25 years, but when you add
Sounds
century.
old. Sounds really old is what it does, Ginger.
So I'm really interested to talk to you about some of the stories that you've covered from the beginning of your career, and it's come full circle now that you can do follow-up 25 years later. It's
Lots of
just
Florida man in
yeah,
there.
oh my gosh, so much Florida man, and we're going to talk about that as well. But thank you for making the time for us on a Friday night and joining us. One of the stories we've been talking about all week, and it is just tragic, is what happened at Epic Universe, and it's the brand new theme park that opened just a few months ago. It opened back in May, and I happened to be there for the opening of it, and it was a huge, and it still is a huge deal. Great, beautiful theme park here. A guy was on one of the roller coasters, and something tragic happened, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what, but he's dead.
And I think that's part of what I mean. Unfortunately, deaths and injuries occur on theme park attractions around the world.
Sure.
I think what made this one particularly noteworthy is that it happened on a brand new ride. And yes, there are still a lot of questions. We still do not know if this gentleman passed away mostly because of something natural, although I do know that the medical examiner said it was due to blunt force, which raises this more than potentially just a medical issue. But
yeah, blunt force doesn't seem natural.
No.
Yeah.
But whether one of his medical conditions may have contributed it or not, we just don't know. But it's the fact that this is a brand new attraction. And it reminded me back in 2003 when Mission Space opened at Epcot. That was a brand new attraction, a new technology that really had not been done in a theme park at that scale. And around that time, I think it was a 4-year-old boy died. His family even acknowledged at the time it was natural causes. He had pre-existing conditions, but it got so much attention back then because this was a new ride with relatively new technology. And then you have this tragedy occur and drew so much attention to it. And that's a little bit what this reminds me of. But unlike that case that was definitively ruled a medical issue, I know there are still a lot of unanswered questions about this one that happened at Epic Universe.
Yeah, our community correspondent Laverne McGee did some digging today to figure out exactly what happened, and here's part of her story.
While state and local investigators work inside the park, outside, those who knew Kevin Zavala are sharing pictures and memories. Quote, Kevin was truly one of a kind. He had an old soul wise beyond his years, with a heart full of compassion, love, and understanding. That is just part of a GoFundMe page reportedly dedicated to Kevin Zavala. As for exactly what happened, the medical examiner determined the manner of death an accident. Investigators are not confirming any other information, including if the 32-year-old may have had a condition that could have posed a problem. You can see from the photos on the GoFundMe page, he used a wheelchair. Stardust is a relatively new ride with Epic Universe that opened in May. The Orange County Medical Examiner released a statement saying he died of multiple blunt impact injuries. While the Orange County Sheriff's Office's investigation into the death continues, the park has made the decision to keep the roller coaster closed.
And that's what people are, they're like, okay, while it's closed, they're looking at it. And I'm sure they're going over that roller coaster with a fine tooth comb. And we were talking about how inspections at theme parks work here, Mike.
I think it's always anytime we sadly have one of these tragedies, these injuries or deaths, that we're kind of reminded to talk about that here in the state of Florida, the major theme parks, Disney, Universal, United Parks now, SeaWorld,
Yeah.
and Busch Gardens, and then Legoland are exempt from state inspections. Now, your traveling carnival that may set up in the parking lot of your local mall, that is inspected by state amusement ride inspectors. Something like a fun spot that's a little bit smaller, it has to have required inspections by the state of Florida. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, if you'll believe, is the one that has the theme park, the amusement ride inspectors. But I think it was in 2000, the year 2000, the major theme parks all became exempt under state law. So they do not have regular inspections being conducted
Who's
by...
doing the inspections?
They are doing it internally. And I think part of the rationale was these are the experts in their field. They tend to have very large teams of engineers and mechanics on site that a smaller traveling carnival may not, and are perhaps the world's foremost experts on how these attractions run and are operated. So I think that was part of it. There's also a lot less red tape for those major theme parks, which have dozens and dozens of attractions versus a roadside carnival that may have 5 or 6. But they are exempt now. Under the law, they are required to report injuries and deaths, and that's what we saw happen in this case. And so we do know that state inspectors are on the scene of this one now.
Yeah, and they have to do a stellar job because you don't get crowds based on the fact that if there are several things like this happening these are rare and unusual. So, their inspections have to really be very, very good, because if word gets out, oh, yeah, they average so many deaths a year, you're not going to get crowds like you see in the theme parks here in Central Florida.
You want to think that these companies are genuinely concerned about the safety and welfare of their customers, and they are.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. When it comes to something like this that is getting worldwide publicity right now, it's a little bit of a black eye, and that's why they are so diligent about the maintenance. And that's why we see so very few incidents like this.
That's the key. That's the key. And that's why we're covering it, because it is very unusual. All right, more to come on that one. Another story we're talking about is, I don't know if I can't think of what my average water bill is, but I think it's probably like maybe a couple $100, maybe less than that. I mean, do you know what of course you do.
It fluctuates, and I can never figure out why is this month so much higher or not. And,
when you say higher, you don't mean thousands of dollars.
No. It ranges between 80 and 100 something, maybe.
A normal range. Our news anchor, Matt Austin, got an email from a woman who said, I need your help. My water is she's in Wedgwood, I think. She said her water is about to be cut off next Tuesday because instead of her normal $200 bill, she got a bill for $4,400. Here's part of Matt's report.
In July, Martin received this water bill for $4,400 for 1 month.
What do you think's happening?
I think that there's a computer glitch of some sort.
Here's a closer look at the bill. On June 8th, her water usage goes from averaging 0 to 10 gallons per hour to 180. Then it stays between 240 and 300 gallons per hour for nearly a month straight at all hours of the day and night. She lives in Wedgefield in East Orange County. Plurus Water Company services the area. Neighbors have complained of smelly, massive rates for years.
We pay more for water than anybody. I'm not so happy about that. We can't drink the water.
Martin says she called 2 plumbers who both confirmed there was no leak. We reached out to Plurus. They responded saying they checked the meter, no issues. In an email, the company wrote, Plurus is not legally bound to give Miss Martin an adjustment on the elevated usage charges. In an act of good faith, we have offered a tier rate adjustment and payment plan on the remaining balance. The bill was cut to $1,800.
My response is, you're still wanting me to pay for water that I did not use. The only acceptable thing is to adjust my bill to what it normally is, and I'll pay it.
That is, I mean, $1,800 is not $4,400, but it's still a lot of money. And it's clear that she's not using this water.
Well, or that she's aware of it, and I know that she said that she's had it inspected for leaks. But I'll tell you, we do get a lot of complaints about
Yeah.
this, and it's your word against the water company. They have the meter showing this, but you say no, there's no way I use this. And this all reminded me of a story I covered several years ago. It was I think a single mom and daughter lived in a second floor condo and had minimal water usage, and then one month got slammed with an enormous bill. And we never did figure out exactly why it happened. However, when I was out at her house interviewing her, I noticed on this second floor condo, on the first floor in the bushes were water spigots. So in theory, someone out could have turned on the water downstairs and started draining her bill upstairs.
Oh my
And I
gosh,
noticed
what a
several of the other
nightmare.
neighbors had padlocks on their first floor spigots
Yeah.
to prevent something like that. We don't know if that's what caused it, but in her case, and as we see in many other cases, these water companies are willing to give you usually a one-time forgiveness because they understand a leak can happen. They
Yeah,
want you to
sure.
take care of it.
Just don't let it happen twice.
I've never seen one as big as $1,800 is the forgiveness.
Is the forgiveness, but 4,400, that's insane. So hopefully she gets that resolved by Tuesday, or else they're going to turn her water off. And other people in that community have had some similar issues, but we'll continue to follow that one as well. All right, now we want to get to the crux of why you're here tonight, Mike, because you have been at News 6 for 25 years. We have video of you, and I call it Baby DeForest
no.
video. Because you've been here so long, and when you look at this video, I mean, it just, I'm like, oh my God, okay,
That is
that's
not-
not old, but that's new, Mike, but that's Baby DeForest.
That was before I worked here. That was when I worked at Disneyland. That was
know,
for a
but
story
still-
we did
but
about Disney
still.
a couple months
But
ago.
when you first worked here, you kind of look like that, and you have just covered a variety of stories in your 25 years here at News 6. One of the stories that really stands out to me is the junk man. That story has gotten so much attention that when you covered it, when you first got here, that guy is still doing his thing. I just want to run a small clip from that story and then have you bring us up to date on what's actually
Absolutely.
happening. All right.
By this time tomorrow, a sheriff's investigator
How
will
long does
likely drive by here to confirm that Davis has violated the court order.
Nearly 25 years ago, I began covering complaints about this Central Florida home.
It's a junkyard.
Seminole County officials said the owner, Alan Davis, had been piling junk in his yard in violation of local ordinances.
But every time they keep screwing with me, I keep moving more. And there is nothing they're going to do about it.
What a character, and what a gift that you got to cover this guy almost 25 years ago, and he is still in this community.
It was one of the very first stories I covered here because it was a very active situation. Then that you had this guy piling junk, said it was his First Amendment right of free speech. You had the neighbors, understandably, upset about this junk, claiming it was hurting their property values, their ability to sell their homes.
Sure.
And so you had this standoff. He went to prison several times for this. The county came out and under a civil forfeiture basically seized all the junk to pay off fines, but in reality it got the yard cleaned up. One of the times it was sold at auction to a buddy of his, and it all came back within a couple days.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
And this has been on my desk for much of the past 25 years. Alan Davis made this. So he became, this story got a lot of attention early on because one of his sculptures was as tall as I was.
it's right there in that little
Oh, yeah,
clip right
yeah. The human. Well, that's one of variations. He had a couple variations of this. It was this fiberglass rear end. And he told anybody who opposed him that they could all kiss his beep.
Yep.
We used the beep a lot on this guy. But the significance of this was then he started selling mini sculptures, and he was selling these. And this brick is actually some of the junk from his front yard. And he was mounting these sculptures to it and seeing if people would buy it, because his belief was if people are buying it, This isn't junk.
It's art.
It's art protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So those are the kinds of arguments he has made. Some people love him. Some people absolutely hate him, especially if you live right by him. But 25 years later, he is continuing to thumb his nose at Seminole County government, and
That's just crazy
I've
work,
been
and
able
that
to kind
thing
of
has
follow this all along the
been
way.
on your. I know. I was saying it's unusual that one reporter has covered the same story for 25 years, because on other stations they have B-roll from like 3 different reporters who are no longer there. But you used your own B-roll from the first time you did that story.
And every 3
It's-
year, I got to tell the new people around here. Okay, so there was this guy, and he had this big butt statue in his yard.
They ask
and-
you about the artwork on your
And
desk,
so that's
Mike.
finally why we put this video together. It's about I think a 12-minute video we
Yeah.
put on YouTube, which just explains the whole thing. So I don't have to tell people it
Yeah,
anymore. You
okay.
here, watch the YouTube
Just go to
video, yeah.
YouTube and watch it. You'll be thoroughly
Yeah.
entertained. All right, Mike, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about another story that you're covering that is not even about to be over. We're talking about former Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez. We'll have more on that when we come back. Yeah, and he got the latest from the sheriff just a little while ago, I think. So we'll make sure we have that for News 6 tonight. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We know you're busy, but news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
That's right. And this is News 6 Tonight, where we leverage this entire busy newsroom with our community correspondents, our producers, our content desk, and then we filter through that. We have a casual conversation about the news that impacts Central Florida.
Yeah, we live here in the community, and we rely on you for our neighborhood network, because you're our eyes and ears as well, and we can't do it without you.
So you can watch us all over the place, YouTube, News 6 Plus app, and clickorlando.com. While you're here, feel free to engage. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
All right, everybody, welcome back to News 6 Tonight. I am here with News 6 investigator Mike DeForest, and we are going over some of the highlights, or lowlights, if you will, of your career, because you have been here for 25 years. And the thing I will say about you, Mike, is you, on YouTube, if you search any of your stories, and you've done a multi-part piece on a story that is tragic in this area. It's Madeline Soto, and it's worth, if you haven't taken a look at that, please do, because it really does break down everything that happened in that case. And it's such
And
an
law
awful story.
enforcement's work on that case is, I
Yeah.
think, one of my takeaways from this series we did on just how they investigated this crime and were able to
Yeah.
quickly solve it.
Yeah, yeah. And I know I see you over there sometimes with the other investigator, Lewis Bolden, and I can tell when you guys have a do not disturb sign on, because you have that look on your face, because you are literally going through hundreds, if not thousands of pages of documents that have been dumped into your lap, and that's what you have to go through. And one of the stories that we're getting documents after document is the former Osceola, or suspended Osceola County Sheriff, Marcos Lopez. And you did some reporting last week that talked about the text messages he was sending, allegedly sending. And let's just play a little part of that story from last week.
In 2019, when then Deputy Marcos Lopez was running to become Osceola County's next sheriff, he needed campaign money. So prosecutors say he hit up businessman Krishna Deokaran for campaign donations. Deokaran owned and operated several illegal gaming rooms in Lake County, according to authorities. Prosecutors say Lopez also sought campaign contributions from Kissimmee businesswoman Kate Zhang, who allegedly imported gambling machines from China. Lopez introduced Zhang to Deokaran, court records allege, and a unique business relationship was formed. Kate, nothing to worry, Lopez allegedly wrote in a 2019 text message to Zhang. No matter what the outcome is when I win, we start the first internet amusement cafe in Osceola County. You will be...
Okay, and there's so much more to that story, but
And very important to point out while we're playing this is Marcos Lopez has pleaded not guilty to charges.
the
in this case,
racketeering charges, yeah.
racketeering charges. So, which we get into a little bit more in there. But
Yeah.
what that was originated from was, I think, more than 250 pages of court records detailing not just the case against him, and this is just a small sampling of the
Yeah.
case against him and his 5 or 6 other co-defendants, and really starting for our first time as the public to see how the sheriff allegedly got linked into this gambling
Yeah.
operation and then helped perpetuate it.
And here's the thing, Mike. You get these documents, and they are literally hundreds of pages. How do you even begin to tackle that? Because you have to then condense it into a TV-friendly story.
It's always a challenge, and one of the things I always do is what is the most important thing to our viewers and our community, and why are people interested in this story? And I think this one, for example, is, and I hate to say this, we would have covered it if these other people got arrested in this gambling operation, but what I think brought it to new levels was this was an elected sheriff, someone who swears to uphold the law, and he is accused of breaking the law. And so when I'm going through something like that, what I'm constantly looking at is what it's about Sheriff Lopez in this case,
Yeah.
and what he may have done allegedly to betray the public's trust when it came to this. Not that what his co-defendants are also accused of very serious crimes,
Yeah.
but that's how we're able to help narrow down that a little bit.
Do you enjoy at all? And I mean, it's some part of your job. It's like, and sometimes I notice like what we call the Friday document dump. Like, so it won't get into the news cycle. So they dump things on a Friday night, and it's as big as that file was. What is that a challenge to you, or do you like bring it?
It's a little bit of both. There is an adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
in part because I'm interested in these stories.
Yeah.
I want to see the outcome of this. It's why I got into journalism in the first place. Is I love telling these stories, love learning things. I love learning things before being able to tell it to other people. And so, yes, I've been curious personally as to what are the allegations, because it's now been, a couple months since the sheriff was arrested,
Yeah.
and we didn't know all the precise details. And so, yes, I'm eager to see for myself, hey, this now explains why this happened or this. But it's also a lot of work too, and wanting to do it fairly. That is the biggest thing, because there's so much in there and so much one-sided in this case. This was the prosecution's case, and we
Yeah.
have not heard from Marcos Lopez's side much about this, and he will have the opportunity in court to do that. But we're always very careful and cautious about that.
Oh, I can guarantee you, if you were not careful and cautious and good at your job, you would not be doing it for 25 years here in Central Florida. All right, so we want to turn now to our weekend. Our forecast is looking so good right now. Not as good as last weekend, though. I had coffee outside.
Yeah, it was like wintertime almost. Hey.
Wintertime. Okay, calm down. He got ahead of
Hey.
himself. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas joins us now. Jonathan, I know you said the
Yo.
weekend's going to be nice, but not as nice as last weekend.
Yeah. You know, it's hard to put, because it does feel decent out there right now. It maybe not be as that's the key word.
High praise,
as-
decent.
Yeah, I know. How do I do this? Because that's the thing. It feels pretty good out there for September standards. It's just not as good
Yeah.
as last weekend. Does that make sense?
It does, but we're gonna get our shot at it. Fall starts Monday,
We
doesn't
are.
it? Which means nothing.
Yeah, you want to know what the temperature is on Monday? It's a big old 90. So
Oh,
yeah, we
good.
are really ringing in the fall season. But I'll tell you, I love that you mentioned it. This is stuck with me since early in the week. Turning the corner,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
all that we can think here. As we got the taste of it, it's going to be a pretty good weekend. All things, if we didn't have last weekend, this would be, oh my gosh, this is great out there.
Yeah.
But now that's embedded in our minds that it's close. But we are going to be watching for a pretty good weekend. I think downpour on the coast. That's it for in terms of rain chances this weekend. So
Okay.
if you do have outdoor plans, it's pretty good. Again, the dew point, I had the graph to show you. It's the most important number for your comfort. Last weekend, it was in the mid 60s. Okay, so this is going to be the best way that I can give the perspective for you. Right now, it's about 70 to 72 across most of Central Florida.
It's
So
going
if
the
you look
wrong
at the
way.
muggy meter, it's going the wrong way, yeah. So we're going from our comfortable category to maybe a little humid to now humid to to the lower end on the very humid part of the scale. So wrong direction, not terrible, but it is going to be nice out there, I think, this weekend. Coming up at 9:30, guys, we're also going to take a long-range look into the tropics. There's some buzz out there. Some models are showing some things in places we don't like to see them.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at that. It's getting to be that season as we roll into October. We've become too familiar with that month, unfortunately, lately. So we're going to take a look at that to see what is trash versus the truth out there at 9:30.
Oh, I know how you hate the trash. All right, Jonathan.
Oh,
I know.
yeah,
We
it's
don't even have
garbage
time
day,
to get
baby.
into
Let's
that.
go.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. We'll see you at 9:30. Check him out at 9:30. He has a stellar show, and it's right after this one. All right. But coming up after the break, we have one final story before we get out of here for the weekend, and it's on the war on e-bikes, it seems. We'll be right back.
Welcome to News 6 Tonight. We are so thankful that you're joining us here wherever you found us.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? If you have made this your new streaming destination, it tells me you're smart. Also good looking, because you chose to watch the news in a different way. That makes you really smart. Anybody can give you the news from a teleprompter or an old newspaper. We do it in a fresh new way.
That's right. So check us out wherever you like to stream. We have this app for your TV, News 6 Plus. You can find it on Roku and Amazon and whatever your smart TV is cooking. So thank you. We would love to hear your comments down below.
My gosh. Yeah.
And then we'll show them.
Yeah, we will. News 6 Plus. The plus is you.
Ooh.
So, hey, welcome back to the final segment of News 6 Tonight on this Friday night. We're going to get right to it because we all have a story about an e-bike encounter. They scare me on the sidewalks. And the problem is that there's no regulation for them. Our community correspondent, Catherine Silver, covered this story today, and here's a little bit of her reporting.
State laws say an e-bike can go anywhere a bicycle can go. What we're seeing are kids in packs of e-bikes ignoring the rules of the roadway. You have to stop at stop signs. You have to operate it like you're operating a vehicle. A lot of these parents are buying these e-motorbikes that don't have pedals that will go from 30 up to 70 miles an hour.
That is fast when you think about it. I did not know that there were no regulations and that there's a difference between an e-bike and an e-motorcycle.
And yet, for certain people who may have mobility issues or a little bit elderly, can't quite pedal the bike like they used to, they're great. But as the police officer said there, that you do run that risk of they're zipping by quickly and everything's at a higher speed. And when you're at a higher speed, it's more likely for accidents to occur.
You got to pay attention. Guys, thanks for joining us. And that's our time right now because that's the timer.